Hello, Sheikh Fatima. Welcome. Good evening. Mofe Lola Ngoya Sharis. Good evening. Adeleka Denigi, Yomi Jegede, Olukayode, Ekundayo, Dvers. Iye tamoja vehicle shiti Dvers. Omonike Ikeade, Eric Lindu, Patty Bafu, A.K. Johnson. Welcome, everyone. Lola Shoronke, Daniel Atsenga, Abikosh, Benny Gift, Okeaya Ine, Anne-Marie, Monica again, Jake Oke, Odafe Onigoro, Ladi Shoronke, Abimbola Olufemi. That guy no fit come out him eye from you. The one where they sit to your left. Olukayo de Kundayo, 2B Moi, Jake Oke, Stella Nuhu, John Louis Armstrong. Oh, I'm going to get sorry guys, don't do you. Now talk and they talk here for audience. I'm not talking to you guys. Sorry, guys. I think that was, what is happening here is another Joe Jones, yeah. Emmanuel Graham, Ufoba, Negoro. Yeah, sometimes even me, I get distracted. Sometimes even me, I get distracted by what's happening around me. Can you believe that? Sometimes even me, I get distracted. Yomi Onadikwe, Gladys Ngosu. I can't see TY yet though. Tunde Aroye Hon. Oshukos Sik Prako. Paula Woodele. Emmanuel Graham again. Bosse Fire Jola. Okay, now let's continue our classes. So what is it that brings about conflict or that breaks the relationship, that breaks down the relationship between parents and children? What is it that breaks down relationship between parents and children? I'm sitting down with Sister, Dr. Sufficient. Yeah. This one, just the beginning, when you get to America, go everyday trial. Them I go be on you for all day long. Anyway, I'm trying to speak like a pigeon. I'm learning. Joseph Stone Lake. We enabled ours to where they are to respect everyone but themselves. Don't spoil them. Let them. Okay, yeah. Well. So, if you have shared the link, by the way, I forgot to tell you to go share the link today. Let's go share the link. Let's go share the link. The link is, the share button is under the video. The share button is under the video. So, let's go share that link. And once you've shared the link, let's start the class today. So, what destroys or what spoils the relationship between parents and their children? I've spoken about several points in the morning, what bring about the downfall and the ruin in relationship between parents and children. And the next thing I want to talk about that brings about such a misunderstanding between parents and children is, and this is important for parents to know, is when you are never satisfied at the efforts of your child. That dissatisfaction could frustrate them. That could bring about frustration. That could bring about anger. That could bring about a feeling of rejection. So children could feel rejected when you are never satisfied by what they do, and especially when you have the tendency to what do you call that? When you are too meticulous, but in the negative way. When you are constantly criticizing all their efforts, when the best of their efforts is never acknowledged, when you are all not giving the children credit for the little they've done and for the efforts they are putting in, when you are never satisfied. It's good to be meticulous, it's good to be detailed, but sometimes, you complain about insignificant things. When you are a perfectionist towards the children, yes, when you try to be too perfectionist towards them, even when you want to be perfectionist, and one of the best things you could give to your child is for you to teach them to be perfectionists, to do things well, but still acknowledge them in the process of moving from good to better or to best, and acknowledge them in the process, and let them know that their efforts are acknowledged. Then you come and tell them that they have not done enough. So, but without telling them that what they have done is good, or that they have tried, and you are just complaining and rejecting their best efforts, that could bring a breakdown in the relationship between you and your children. So children get frustrated, children get annoyed, and at their parents, and they conflicts begin in the life of children and parents when parents would not, acknowledge and give any honor or give any credit to the efforts of the children, and when they simply criticize and only criticize. And that's in line with what the Bible says, that you parents, you should not provoke your children to anger. So this is one of the ways that we might actually be provoking our children to anger. So by being too, critical, by being too critical of their best efforts. So, but you could still criticize their best efforts, but before you do, you want to make sure that you acknowledge their efforts, you acknowledge them, you give them the credit for the little that they have done, and especially for the efforts they made. And then you should go from there to tell them that there's still room for improvement. Okay, so that's the first point for tonight. So let's look into other points that might be responsible for the breakdown between you and of relationship between you and your children. Please, I see that not too many people have shared the message yet. Let's go ahead and press the share button, and you might need to listen to this again. You might want to listen to this again, so let's go and do that. The next point that could bring about a breakdown of relationship between parents and their children is being over emotional, being reactional instead of rational. You don't use emotionalism to raise up children. You cannot be reactional and be a good parent. You cannot be reactional and be a good parent. So for you to be a good parent, and for you not to bring out anger in your children, and for your children not to get to hate you at the end of the day, instead of being reactional, you've got to always cool down and be rational. It is only rational upbringing bring out the best in a child. Reactional upbringing does the opposite. So you don't want to be reactional when you are raising up your children, no matter what they do. So when they do, what is being reactional? Being reactional is when something happens, you react immediately, and you are explosive immediately, and most of your reaction is not just an immediate reaction or response, but it's a negative response, or it's an emotional response, or hysterical response. So when those historical responses are there, or when you become hysterical like that, hysteric, your children just say, "Oh, mom is hysteric, mom is eccentric or hysteric," and they just label you. They just label you. Or dad is just, that's just that. That's just the way dad is. They cannot reject you because you are their father, but they have rejected you in their heart. They cannot accept you anymore, and they cannot tolerate you anymore, and they cannot endure you anymore. So don't be reactional when it comes to raising up children. When it comes to raising up children, this is one thing you don't want to do. This one thing you don't want to do. You don't want to be reactional. You don't want to be reactional. So when it comes to raising up children, no matter what they do, take your cool, be quiet first, and then let the emotion go before you begin to give your response. Even if you want to respond when the thing is hot, just say, "Meet me in 2 hours," or "Meet me at home," or "Meet me to so and so time," but not immediately while you are red hot. Not immediately while you are red hot. So avoid shouts. Avoid shouts, because when you are reactional, mostly you shout. You scream at your child, and those things leave traces, evil and wrong and bad traces in the children. It leaves a bad taste in their mouth, and it leaves a bad trace in their psyche, in their mind, in their emotional well-being. And if you're not careful, those children might end up, shouting as well at you one time or the other. And so you don't want that to happen. You want them to, keep on respecting you, to keep on honoring you. And for that to happen, you must make sure that you don't expose them to that shout. You shouldn't even expose shouting and screaming to anybody in your family. Your family shouldn't have any form of shouting whatsoever. Your family shouldn't have any form of screaming whatsoever. If screaming, shouting, and hysterical attitudes are things that you don't even want to be there in your family at all, in whatsoever form. So you, husband and wife, you don't want to be shouting or screaming at yourselves, and so also you don't want to be shouting and screaming at the children. If you shout at the children, then one day they will grow up, and it is their shout you will be hearing. You'll be the one just cooling them down, because they will take your place, believe me. Okay, there is a message here for all of us from Mayowa. She said, "Good evening, beautiful people. I received my Pastor Sandey life card from the printers today." Now, that life card is what was prepared by that Bishop Richard from America, that we should print it out and use to invite people to this live show. So if you want to have a card to use to invite people to the live show, because it's easier to distribute cards. So this is what Mayowa is talking about. I am excited to share this invaluable platform with as many people as possible. The idea to do this has been on my mind for at least a couple of months before Pastor Sandey read out the comment and suggestion from the apostle from California, who boldly heed to the voice of God. Luckily, it is not too late for me. Please, ladies and gentlemen, we can do this. Many people are in the dark. Give them the opportunity to come to the light of this life-transforming platform. Yeah, let them join. Just invite your people. Send them the link. Let them just join in. Let them join in, and give them the card. Send them the link, give them the card. So that's what Mayowa is saying. And today, somebody will send, you will see the link here. Either Dr. Sufficient or one person will put the link now, or in my name, a link will come up. And just follow the link, and you'll be able to download the same card for yourself and be able to distribute. Davida is saying, what do we have to do to stop being emotional? Just don't talk or walk out. Or you could walk out or don't talk, or just, be silent and let the emotion go down first before you come back to talk about it. Okay, the card is already here. Sandey Adelaja put a link there where you could actually go and share the card. You could follow the card, and Ufoma said, it's better to respond rather than reacting. My daughter always cry when I react, so I have to change. I just calm down and rather respond rather than instead of reacting. Beautiful, beautiful. Respond rather than reacting. And Deborah Cole said, shouting makes your children to keep their distance. Gladys is saying, but it's a big problem to hold yourself when you're angry. Well, that's why you should get ready before you become a parent. Adelaju said, oh, Pastor, it's like you know my wife's weakness. So that for your wife you did here. So you mean you are here to go and be noticing the weakness of the I thought you were here for yourself. I thought you were here to discover your own weakness. You mean you are here to discover your wife's weakness? Oh, what a job! What a job! What a job! Wow! That's a tough job to get, I tell you. It's the kind of job that will be getting you irritated at your wife while you are listening to Pastor Sandey. Instead of you to be to be working on changing yourself, you'll be working on changing your wife. Make everybody they listen for themselves, though. Let your wife hear what she needs to hear. She will know that God is speaking to her, and she will change by herself without your help. Because if you are now telling her it's a problem, then that's when she will become more stubborn, and she will say, okay, now that you are pointing accusing finger at me, now I will not even respond. But it's better for you to see your own things that you need to work on. Okay, here we are. So don't use anger and don't use frustration or reaction or hysteria to try to change your child. Those things are counterproductive. They are counterproductive. All right. The next thing, which is probably the most common thing that we do, the next thing that will lead to a breakdown of relationship between you and your children, the next thing that you do, that we all do as parents, that lead to the breakdown in the relationship between parents and their children is when we prohibit our child from doing something without giving them explanation. When you prohibit your child from doing things, and we know how to do that, I tell you that one is the most common thing I'm familiar with in parenting, and it's a wrong thing that parents need to look out for and watch after themselves and then change. You don't just tell your child that it is prohibited. Don't just tell your child that this is not allowed, or that is not allowed, or that is wrong, and this is wrong. Why is it wrong? Oh, God said so. Oh, the word of God says so. Oh, well, it's because it's wrong. I tell you, some parents actually go to the extent of saying, because I said it, you cannot do it because I said it. Since I said it, it means it's wrong. No, it shouldn't be like that. If you prohibit anything, or if you ban your children from doing anything, or you prohibit them from doing something, you must have very good explanations for stopping them from doing one thing or the other. If you say anything is wrong, then you must have a reason why it's wrong. You must try your best to educate yourself, to get educated, to have enough knowledge to be able to pass across to your child why that thing is wrong. If you say something is wrong without explaining why, you know what you are really doing? You are bullying that child. That's exactly what that child will feel. That child will feel as if he's being bullied. And you don't want to be a bully as a parent, What you rather want to be is a parent. You want to parent rather than bullying. Okay, Ine said, Pastor, you don't catch me on that. Maybe they can't talk about this time. Pastor, I think this time you are talking about me. Well. If everybody here is going to be telling the truth, okay, if everybody here is going to be telling the truth, let me tell you something. A lot of skeletons are going to be coming out of them cupboards. If everybody in this platform is going to tell you the truth, we are going to see a lot of tombs, a lot of sepulchres opening up, a lot of graves and opening up with skeletons walking out. I think a lot of parents are guilty of this. I think a lot of parents are guilty of this for sure. Maybe we are all guilty of it, of trying to tell your people. But I don't. I'm quite sure I'm not guilty of it because I know this principle, this law, and I abide by it. You don't tell your child or not to do something without the full explanation why that thing is wrong. Elizabeth says, I'm guilty. 5 minutes ago, I just did it. So don't ever prohibit your child from doing something when you've not explained to them why that thing is wrong. Don't ever stop your child or tell your child something is bad, something is wrong, or you shouldn't do something without you giving explanation. Even if you don't give explanation immediately, make sure that you tell him or her that I will explain to you later. And let that later come sooner than later. So get them together, go and do your research, go to the internet, get the answer to your question, or go to Pastor Sunday's messages, listen to that topic, and then explain to that child why that particular thing is wrong, why it shouldn't do what you said it shouldn't do. So don't you ever tell your child not to do something unless you first explain to him or her why that thing is wrong. Or if you tell him that he should stop doing it and you just happen not to have the time because you are in a hurry, so you cannot explain to him right now, promise him and keep to that promise that you will explain to him why that thing is wrong and why he shouldn't do that thing again. And when you do explain, when you find the time, the earliest time possible, make sure you sit down with him. Don't just explain to him why that thing is wrong. Make sure that you let him repeat it back to you. Make sure he gets it. Make sure he gets it. He understands exactly why that thing is wrong. Exactly why that thing is wrong. So, if you just tell your child or your wife that don't do that thing. I told you, who did I just tell now? What did I just tell you this morning? What did I tell you this morning? Didn't you hear me? What did I tell you this morning? Is it not you that I told? Well, I told you, didn't I tell you that? Repeat what now you are going to do this. What you are doing, you are bullying that child. You know another word for bullying? I'm going to tell you. You want me to tell you the other meaning of bullying? Are you anybody is interested for me to tell you what it means when you bully? You want? What bully means is terrorizing. You know what? Those people who terrorize, you know what they call them? You know what they call them? You think Osama bin Laden is bad? You think he was a bad person? Or Saddam Hussein? You know why they killed them? They were terrorists. They were terrorists. Terrorists. If you bully people, that is called you are a domestic terrorist over your household, but nevertheless, domestic terrorist. So we don't want terrorists to be coming to my platform, okay? Even domestic terrorists. You don't need them. You don't need them walking around free in the city. Some people already say I'm guilty. Confession time. Confession time. Not be communion time, but confession time. Domestic terrorists. That's what you are doing when you are telling your child or your baby or your children to do things or not to do things, and you are stopping them from doing something or going somewhere just because you said it. Just because you said it? Just because you said it? Did I just hear that? Just because you said it? No. Just because you said it? No. We are not in the Stone Age anymore. We are no more in the Stone Age. Elizabeth has said, my son is here with me and he's laughing seriously. Even your son understood your seed. Yeah, I think our son is only 8 years old or 7 years old. And your son is already aware of what's going on. That this is mommy's crime. Don't begin to raise up your children by saying, I said it, that's all. Just because I said it. So what does that mean? Who are you? Even Almighty, he's 4 years old. He's 4 years old and he's already aware of what's going on. It means, wow, Elizabeth, you have overcommitted that sin. It means that you have been guilty of that thing for some time. And I'm sure maybe it is your son's prayer that God is answering. I guess God is answering your son's prayer. Wow. Don't let us desist from using such language as I said it because I said it. You are not allowed to go. You shouldn't do it. You cannot do it. I said it. That's all. When you say things like that, you are establishing yourself as a dictator. When you say things like that, you are actually, certifying yourself as an abuser. When you say things like that I said it, that's all. You shouldn't understand the reason, or you shouldn't even ask for the reason. That is like saying that you are using animalistic method to nurture or to raise up another person or to bring up your children. You are bringing them up like animals. What you do to animals is you don't give animals logical reasons. You don't give animals logical explanations. What do? You take the cane or the rod and you just beat them and let them just obey. You just want them to obey because they don't have the mind and they don't have analytical mind. So you don't do that to a human being. You don't do to a human being what you don't want other people to do to you. Don't just expect people to obey you because you said it. So we shouldn't, ever, prohibit our children from doing something just because daddy said so. Daddy, I understand that you said, I heard you when you said it. But could you tell me why? Oh, okay, you don't have the right to ask why. If you ask why, it means you are doing rebellious. Who is the kid out of you two? Is it the boy who is the kid here, or the father? If that son is asking you for explanation, it means he's more mature than you. If you are telling that child that you don't have the right to know the reason why you shouldn't do what I'm prohibiting you from doing, excuse me. You are turning that child to an animal. But not just the child, you are turning yourself to an animal. I'm sorry. Sorry, but Never you tell your child that you should never do this, or don't do this, or don't go this place, because why? You should tell them why. If you just tell him, I said it, that's all, you should never go. That is being a bully. That is being a bully. You are bullying that child right there. And to bully means to terrorize. You are actually a domestic terrorist. That's what we could say. So don't do that. Don't ever, that is from the Stone Age. Don't do that. Don't do that. That child has a reason. That child has a mind. That child is Homo sapiens. And you are supposed to appeal to his understanding. And that is when he will truly respect you. And that is when he will truly honor you. That is when he will truly have dignity of self. That is when he will respect himself. And that is when he will be able to carry himself as a human being, as a worthy human being. So don't just be telling somebody that you can't do this or you can't do that. You are not a terrorist and you are not a bully. Explain to them always. Always let them know the reason why. Let them have the understanding. Let them have the insight. Let them know why that thing is prohibited and why they should never ever do that thing. That is what parenting is all about. If it's based on shouting and screaming and just saying, I said it, I told you, who did I tell? Who did I tell? Didn't I say it? Did I say? So what did I say? Those are emotions. And those things only harden the heart of your children. Those things only harden the heart of your children. They only turn your children against you. They turn your children against you. They turn your children against you. Shola says, Pastor, but the Bible said whoever spares the rod is their children. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yeah. I just preached about that yesterday. Why are you not here yesterday? It means you were not here yesterday, Shola. I'm sorry. I think you better listen to all the series before you assume that I'm against that scripture. Since you were not here when I spoke about it, maybe you will reserve that your little comment. For now. I spoke about not sparing the rod. If you didn't hear it yesterday or the day before yesterday, it means you didn't listen well. Go listen again. I spoke about that. So we are not supposed to be dictators. We are not supposed to be dictators. How many of you remember this thing, what it meant, what I did, why I showed this thing to you the other day? Well, it was last week. I showed this to you last week when I was talking about my son. Whoever remember? Do you remember? This is concerning the spare not the rod that Shola was talking about. Spare not the rod. I practiced that, my dear. But that doesn't negate this particular principle I'm talking about right now. This principle is still important despite that. Shigo is saying, Pastor, I'm just loving your face this evening and your laughter. Today is just been a fun day for me. First of all, I finished my articles about MMM. I'm not so much under pressure as I was this whole week. But that's not the reason. I was just joking. I don't know what happened. I guess because I have beautiful people around me. Let me just tell you what. Let me show you what's happening here. Let me show you what's happening. Maybe that could be the explanation. I don't know. I'm just guessing. It might be. Who knows? It might be. See the beautiful lady up smiling there? You see a beautiful lady there? You see the laughter? Why should I be quiet after that one? You think it's possible? Huh? You want me to be quiet? Yeah? You never knew I was going to do this wonder. You never knew I was going to put on the show. You never knew the miracle was coming our way today. If you want to know why I'm laughing today, maybe people are causing me to laugh. You see the people to blame. You blame them. Blame them. You can recognize this one for sure. That's the one I said in America. She's in trouble. No, they know they come out eye for her. She's in crisis right there. You better get used to it. Whatever I joke, okay, my uncle there, they call me to order. He said, Pastor Sandey. Pastor Sandey, what have you become today? So, there's a lot of joy in the house, right? There's a lot of joy in the house today. You try not to laugh. Try not to laugh after all this. Wow. Okay, let me give you some other points. Otherwise, we will not get over this topic today. So what are the other things that you shouldn't do so that as not to destroy the relationship between you and your children? Davida said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon you, Pastor, today. Okay. So when you prohibit your child without explanation, then you destroy your relationship with them. You make them to be hostile against you. So if you don't want your children to be hostile against you, don't use that method. I don't know if Flair Karim Matip is here today. Flair, I've not written you yet, but I went to your website. You did a great job. Great job. Good job. I like the idea. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful. Okay. Another thing that you don't want to do, and that is very connected to what I just explained a few minutes ago. Another thing you don't want to do with your children is another method of upbringing that you don't want to use against them is using threat and fear. You don't want to threaten them, and you don't want to use fear to be a factor in their upbringing. You don't want to use fear. Oh, I will do this, oh, this thing will happen to you. Oh, if you go out, can you imagine some people? When I was growing up, I remember they used to say, don't go out at night, or don't go out at this time because some masquerade will come and swallow you, or some spirits will come. So at a point, I almost, when my friend, one of my friends, because kids, they will use that and say, oh, you are in darkness. Oh, don't go into the darkness because some ghosts will come. So then the kids will go and use it and just come from your back and say, hey! And you think, oh, that ghost has come home. So you don't want to use fear, threat, and intimidation to bring up your children. fear factor is not very healthy. I mean, the bad fear that something evil is going to happen to you. I mean, and then that begins to follow them. And some of these children will grow up and they will never have the confidence to do what they need to do in life, because that fear will always hold them back, and that fear will always follow them, and that fear will always captivate them. It will always enslave them. What do you say? It will always dominate them from daring. So when you raise up a child in the spirit of fear, they lose the ability to dare. They stop daring. They stop being bold enough to go through what they need to go through. They stop paying the price. They stop, forging forward. They stop being an upstarter. They stop being an upstarter, because they have that fear in their subconscious mind. So you don't want to use fear as one of the means of nurturing your child or raising your child up. Fear is not the best way. Fear, intimidation, and threat is not the way that you want to, use to. Those are not the methods that you want to use to bring up your children. Now, let me show you this, so that you will tell me what kind of a child how would that child grow up? He will grow up in fear and intimidation. Look at that picture. That child is going to grow up in fear and intimidation. Because if you are so mean like that with your son or with your child, can you just feel that fear in that baby? Can you feel that intimidation coming over him? That spirit of fear? That is horrible. You don't want to use fear, threat, intimidation as a means of developing or nurturing or mentoring your child. And that child will respond with fear. He will be fearing you, he will be fearing everything else around him. He will be withdrawn, he will be intimidated, he will be timid, and he will have anger issues. He will have anger issues. So don't use this method to raise up your children. Anger, intimidation, and threat. Wow, just looking at it itself is scary. Just looking at that picture itself is scary. Don't use anger and intimidation. And when you do it to a girl, this is what happens. Can anybody explain to me what that girl is saying by that pose? She's closed herself from the rest of the world. Emotions are shut down. She's gone inside herself. She will not be receptive to the world, to both good and bad. She will be under the domination of fear all her life. She will never be free. With a man, she's been bullied right there. That is the definition of being bullied. That is what I call terrorism. When you use fear to raise up your child, when you use threat and intimidation and fear to raise up a child, you are terrorizing that child. That is a child abusing right there. That is child abusing right there. Child abuse. And when you are being bullied by your own father, that is even worse. Because with your father, that is the person that you want to feel secured around. That's the person who is supposed to give you security, protection. And if it is that person that is that you are experiencing fear and intimidation from, that will stay with you almost for the rest of your life. Can you look at that girl? It's horrible how she's feeling. It's just horrible to try to imagine what that girl is feeling right there. It's just, I can't just imagine all the things that are going on inside of her right now. It's horrible. And when you do it for a child, you destroy our psyche or his psyche. I think I will have to continue this particular subject tomorrow morning as well, because this is so emotional. Thank God we had a good laugh in the beginning. Davida is saying this kind of attitude will not just ruin the relationship, it will actually ruin the child as well. Yeah, it ruins the life of a lot of children. So the next point, the next thing you don't want to do to raise up your children, the next method you don't want to apply. Okay, Omonika is saying, that is really terrible, Pastor. I am really sorry, because she was doing that. She said, I never knew it's being a bully. But when children are being stubborn, what can we do? Well, what can we do is because you don't know what to do. That doesn't mean that you couldn't do anything. Olamide said, God help us. Darlene said, I can do that, but later I explain to her what she has to do. You girls, you have problems. You have issues. It means you did not get prepared well before marriage. It means you did not get prepared well for child rearing, of childbearing. It means maybe you just got pregnant. You just got married and started having children or waiting for children without getting prepared for it, without going through the preparatory classes. You didn't get yourself ready to be able to know the methods, the right methods of rearing or parenting. If all of you are saying you are guilty of this, you need to repent. And you need to repent maybe before those children, because those children will carry those same things to their families. If you don't want your children to carry those things to their children, to their family, and from generation to generation, it's going to be repeating itself in your home, in your family, and upon your descendants, you need to go and ask for forgiveness from those children, even if they are already having their own children, even if they are already married, even if they are already on their own. You still need to go and apologize before them. You need to go and apologize before them. Elizabeth is saying, yes, Pastor, because what should I say? We that did not even plan for this marriage, Yeah, because, you could still learn to be the best of you could be. Ngoya Shari is saying, heavy parental bullying explains why children become extremely stubborn. Joyce Arrow said, we are all guilty. May God help us. I repent today. Ooh, wow. Okay, Aya said, this is just the truth, Pastor. Davida said, this kind of upbringing leaves the children confused and insecure. Olamide said, this is so true, Pastor. Davida says that what is even worse is that the child doesn't even have enough maturity or intelligence to interpret what's going on. He's only seeing the anger and the fear from the daddy or from the mother, and he doesn't even know what is going on. Neki Okoro said, but Pastor, different environment determine the type of measure to use in raising of children. Different environment. Hey, okay, what environment? I have children just like you have children. That's why we must prepare. We shouldn't leave our children to environments to dictate what kind of parenting they are going to get. We shouldn't let it just be a matter of situation or circumstances. That's why we must plan very well before we go into marriage. And that's why we must plan very well before we begin to have our children. So that it will not be environment or situation or circumstances that will determine the kind of quality of upbringing that we give to our children. All I was saying, God help me. Davida said, even when you have a co-worker or a boss that picks on you constantly, you know what it is like to be bullied. Elizabeth said, yes, Pastor, this is not good at all. She's crying. And she said, oh, Lord, help us, parents. I see this happening every single day. Every single day. Okay, I said, but Pastor, I was raised like that. That's why you also repeat the same mistake. And that's why I'm saying you should go and repent and ask for forgiveness from your parents so that they, from your, not parents, from your children, so that they will not carry that legacy with them through life. So that your children will not need to keep on repeating that same mistake with their children. Monica said, thanks so much for this teaching, Pastor Sandey. Ezekiel Murphy said, excellent topic. Bruce Mason says, some parents threaten with things that are to fear out, with some things to fear out there and never do what they say. Yeah. Darlene says, like 3 weeks ago, my children were in the car and they were saying something and laughing. And I asked why they were laughing, but they didn't say anything. But later, I had them saying what I was saying to them. They were saying it and laughing about it, like, stop, don't do that. I told you already, and stop it now. That's what they were laughing at. They were making fun of me. My God. Well, because they were making fun of your emotions. Because your emotions being over-emotional, telling them to do that, stop, don't do that. That's why they were laughing. Because they found that abusive. So either they're going to get mad or they're going to laugh. Thank God they're still laughing. They could run away from home and become hardened. Davida said, yes, it's very damaging. I've met with adults that have been damaged by archaic upbringing like this. Pastor Tokwe Ade said, this is a very sound teaching. Many from African and Nigerian descent were raised that way, but we have many people from that generation, including myself, perfect outside, but bleeding inside. Internal bleeding is deadly. Yeah, I agree with my brother here, and that's why I think that we should all share this message. If you have not yet shared this message, the link to this message, I think we should go and do it. So let's go and find the share button for our video. Let's go share it so that we could keep it. You have a copy of it and be able to share it with other people. Elizabeth said, Pastor, every day I'm grateful I met you. If only I could come to stay with you for just 1 month, I will be good for a long time. Why not? Come. Why don't come? It will be good. Laura said, but Pastor, spare the rod and spoil the child. Yeah. But I just explained that in the beginning, that I'm not saying spare the rod, but that shouting and prohibiting and using fear and intimidation, that is not rod. I spoke about rod already today, and I spoke about it last week. I spoke about it 3 days ago. I'm not against using rod. I'm just against bullying. Adelaj said, Pastor, how can we control our children not to learn bullying from every school environment, especially we that are based in the Arab world? Well, that's why you must be here this whole week. This whole week, I'll be talking about these things. And I will encourage you to both listen to the morning sessions and the evening sessions as well. What Ebanjoko said, truth is truth. Very sound preaching, Pastor. And Monica said, I've started repenting, sir. Gladys said, I regret every day of my life and try to always warn other mothers not to do the same mistake I made. Rasmussen said, some parents always scream at their kids no matter what they do. Elizabeth is saying, dear single woman, please plan your children. Plan to have children. Must really learn to discipline themselves against fornication to avoid raising generation with such bad parents. Monica said, Pastor Sandey, thanks so much for this teaching. I have started to repent since I started listening to you. You are just so good, Pastor Sandey. God bless you. Okay, I said, my God, I have such a long way to go with my children and my stepchildren too. Alice Obasi, we are learning so much from you, sir. Flair Karim Matip, most of our fears come from these threats from our elders, parents, leaders, etc. Yeah. Davida said, as a child, I was beaten by my dad for something I didn't do. I was reported by my grandmother. He didn't ask my version, but really whipped me. I never spoke to my grandmother from that day onwards till the day she died. Wow. That wasn't right of me, but that was my reaction as a child. Yeah. Goya Sharis, Pastor, unfortunately, too few parents are developed in the area of emotional intelligence. I've seen so many families where parents are constantly overreacting, slowly but surely punishing their children more and more away from, pushing their children more and more away from them. It is so very common with African families. I've seen the extreme contrast growing up in Europe, which enabled me to observe both culture closely. Yeah. Monica said, African parents are really good at bullying. My dad really bullied me. He was always beating us with wire in Nigeria. Ooh. Though I never did that anyway. We thought he was a disciplinarian, not knowing he was just a bully. Thank you so much, Pastor, for this teaching. Yeah. Goya says, in Germany, many children usually do something wrong. When children do something wrong, the parents say, we need to talk. African parents would rather get physical. Olamide said, I'm changing every day. My children are happier, especially with the extra time I'm spending with them. Wow, wow, wow. Thank God we were able to go through that. Thank God, thank God. Okay, let me give you a few more points before we go today. Maybe at least, the time is gone, maybe at least one more point. No, I think I will stop at that. I will stop at that today. So let's go and share the link. If you have not yet shared the link to this message, please go ahead and share it. This has been a very important topic, and I think that's enough for today. Tomorrow morning, I will continue the third part of this message. Adeola said, we have to understand how to parent the right way before marriage. Yes, so we don't continue to damage the children from generation to generation. Now you are understanding why I always say 50% of people don't have any business in marriage. 50% of people don't have any business doing in marriage. They could if they get prepared, but 50% of people will not even get prepared. And they don't even know what is preparation. They're just doing it. They are just doing it as a physical thing, as an instinct thing. So 50% of people don't have any business in marriage at all because they are not ready for it. They are not ready for it. And from generation to generation, they are damaging people, damaging their children, damaging their upbringings and offsprings. Adelaja said, I also experienced some kind of reprimanding, which is actually bullying, which affected me for a long time. Thank you so much for this needed teaching. Darlene Madu said, sir, every time we talk to our children or scream at them, we always feel guilty though, because we know right from our heart that they don't deserve that. But sometimes it is just out of stress. Yeah, and that's why I said that parents should, think about having children and prepare for it. And a good husband would not allow the wife to be working and be raising up children at the same time because the stress is too much. You will never be able to give the best to your child that way. Mary Taylor said, I raised my twins and my husband, and I never spank or hit them. We had discussions with them at an early age about behavior, expectations, and consequences of bad behavior. Beautiful. It means you are able to manage that. I beat my children when they deserve it. I don't, I don't believe in that you shouldn't beat children. But if necessary, you need to do what you need to do. But bullying, that's a little bit different from bullying. If you raise your hands to anyone, it means you have lost your temper. Yeah, and you shouldn't raise. That is Sally Clifford saying that. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't beat your children when you are high-tempered or when you are angry. You shouldn't do that. Davida said, very enriching session, Pastor. Thank you. Darlene said, thank you so much for helping us. So grateful always. Thank you. Mary Taylor, thank you so much for these discussions. So many passing on slave practices used to break the spirit of the children. Yep, I agree. Stella says, thank you so much for these teachings. Monica says, Pastor Sandey, thanks so much for this teaching. I have really learned a lot today. God bless you, sir. Elizabeth, please, Pastor, how do we deal with anger? That's another topic right here. Let's finish this one first. Noel Okushuku said, I've gone through some strokes I really, really didn't deserve. If I'm to be honest, that kept me far from my mom, but Christianity brought me closer to her. Wow. Monica said she has not finished reading my articles on MMM. She said, Pastor, you are a real genius. The last one. That was a long one, huh? Gladys said, you said it all, sir. Just be prepared and educated before having children. Yep. Well, that's it for today. I hope you are blessed, both by my laughter, jokes, and the class itself. Thank you so much. I'm here today, tomorrow morning, and tomorrow evening. So I'm back every day, twice a day. Tomorrow is the last day we are going to be on this platform. Tomorrow we'll be here, I guess, in the morning and in the evening on this platform. Then from after tomorrow, we are going to be back on the big platform on Dr. Sandey Adelaja. So from Thursday, we are going to be back on Dr. Sandey Adelaja. From today, we are going to be. Tomorrow we are still going to be here, I guess, on this platform. But on Thursday, we are going to be on the next platform out there. So thank you so much for your time, and good night.